Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Cauldron right here on Times Television. This is the platform which gathers top news editors from the best newsrooms in the country. We take time to discuss topical issues that are making rounds in both the social media and of course the conventional media. We also take time to go outside the country to look at matters that have a direct bearing on the country's happenings. We also take time to look into issues that are trending, mostly those that are affecting the media in our newsrooms. And in today's edition, we have Mibawa, who is the news editor at the Blantyre Synod Radio. My name is Jawes Banda, welcoming you to the Cauldron for this week. Mibawa, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Welcome. Our topic this week, we want to look at district councils coming under the radar of both the central government and of course some governance institutions that are plying their trade in the civil society. They are saying, as civil society organizations, they want government to institute thorough investigations of abuse of funds in district councils. This is coming following revelations that have it that almost 138 million Malawi has gone missing in daylight at the Nkhani District Council alone. First things first, Mibawa, are these civil society organizations justified to make this particular call for thorough investigations of the DCs in the country?
Every Malawian is justified. Even you and I, we can demand that. Unfortunately, that has been the way we speak over the years. They'll demand justice, they'll demand investigations, nothing happens. Yeah. So 138 million Malawi only at district at the Nkhani District Council. What should we expect if this one is, if the net is to be cast wider so that it covers perhaps all the 27, if not 28 district councils? What revelations are going to come out? It's a very horrifying thing to even think about, but as I said, this is how we have been living. You know, Nkhani is a relatively small district. Nobody even talks about Nkhani in this country. It is just one of those districts that are there that don't really matter. I'm sorry to use that word, but we don't really look at Nkhani as a district of a very strategic district.
Yes.
So for somebody, I think must have found it easy to take all that money because nobody thinks about Nkhani anyway. Nkhani is almost like Neno, very forgotten. You only remember it maybe in such instances like this. Yeah.
All right. I want to look at the development that we have at Nkhani. I don't know if you have ever been to Nkhani. What can you make of what you see at Nkhani as a trading center, or perhaps just look at what the Nkhani District Council has done over the years?
That is exactly my point, Chawesi. You know, Nkhani is next to Doha. Go to Doha. Doha is vibrant.
Yes.
Doha has got hotels, motels of hotel standard, right there at Doha. Mbonela is a very good district, a very good trading center. Nkhani is just next door. What do you talk about? Has anyone ever said we're going to a workshop in Nkhani? But we happily leave Blantyre and go to Mbonela because it's a very good place. You find all the amenities there. And that just shows you this is just next door. Nothing happens there. So it was very okay for people to steal because they knew that the radar wasn't on them. Nobody cares. Yeah.
I want to look at the fashion with which this money has been stolen. Indications have it, or revelations have it, that there are a couple of members of staff at the district council there in Nkhani that were getting this money through their salaries. Instead of, let's say, getting 800,000 or 700,000, they were getting 6 million plus, 9 million plus of Malawi into their salaries. What was happening? Who was not doing their job? Who was sleeping on their job?
Somebody, the accountant, the DC, everyone there was not working. I mean, how? Even as colleagues, your neighbor, your desk neighbor is getting 6 million, you're getting maybe 200,000. How? You can tell from the lifestyle.
Yes.
You can tell. You can just tell. These things leak out. What was the accountant doing? Unless there were accountants who did that. But still, the checks have to come out. Somebody has to sign. Somebody was sleeping on the job, or else it was a syndicate.
Understandably, ghost employees were also created as one of the fashions through which this man was stolen.
This is a very small district. We have already established that. How many ghost employees would they have? What are they doing there? what are they doing? Because basically it's the DC's office and maybe the hospital, the government institutions, there are also very few. How would you even incorporate ghost workers in there? It is a syndicate. It is not one or two persons the same. You'd find that all of them, maybe most of them, were actually sharing that money.
I want to look at the issue of perhaps tracing and following on the lifestyle of employees of government. Whose role is this? Should it be taken up by fellow colleagues or the authorities within the council, or who should take this particular role of policing and trying to trace and audit the lifestyle of individual workers of government?
I think that is why in this reforms to be introduced, they're talking about each and every person working in the civil service to be audited. Because even in private institutions, we know how much we get as a basic. We expect a certain level of living. And then suddenly somebody starts living like a millionaire, like a billionaire. Definitely you ask a few questions.
Yes.
If you're doing some side job, we know that maybe Chawezi moonlights for BBC, moonlights for whatever. But we don't see you doing anything like that, but you're prospering. Definitely, as journalists, you should start asking questions.
We know the brackets.
Yes, we do.
Of our earnings.
And we also know that maybe this person contributes to AFP,
yes,
contributes to Reuters, something like that. But somebody just works with you, sits in the office, but they're thriving, and you're just there,
what is happening?
Barely surviving. Questions should be asked.
Let's look at the pieces of legislations that were put in place by government. Our country is not short of or is not deficient of pieces of legislation with which to use to police or look at these particular matters. The assets declarations, and I want to look at how much in terms of contribution the Office of Assets Declarations officers are doing to make sure that we are able to tell that this particular living standard doesn't correspond to how much these people earn. Do you think this particular law is doing what it was meant to do at this particular moment with such revelations coming from our local authorities?
That office has been frustrated right from the start. There was a time it was becoming quite vibrant. As you remember, cabinet ministers were declaring that they've got a bag of maize, something like that. It's very ridiculous things. And the things that they do, it was shut down right from the top because nobody is interested in being audited. So the big fish made it clear they were not interested in that office. How do they proceed? Because we were very interested in that. We're not interested in somebody working at the district council unless something big as this comes out. So they were under the radar. They could do whatever they wanted. But that office has basically been emasculated. They cannot do much unless the government really is serious about saying you did not declare your assets. You as the big people, we are going to prosecute you. Nothing like that has happened. It is just talk in the newspapers. You see a headline, so-and-so declared the 2 bags of maize, and that's it. We laugh about it, or we pretend to be outraged for 2 minutes, and then life goes on.
Let us take a trail a bit in terms of where we're coming from. These issues are coming hot on the heels of having the district councils right in the spotlight when it came to the issue of abuse of the 6.2 billion Malawi of COVID funds. Do you think this gives a good picture to the public to say they just came out? We can say they came out almost clean because we understand these DCs are back in office, and to some extent we can say they've been exonerated to say they didn't do anything wrong. And come these revelations that at the Nchisi District Council, 138 million Malawi has vanished into thin air. What should we say, or what should we make of all this particular happening?
We all know that those interdictions were just cosmetic.
Window dressing.
It was spoken of at a podium where somebody was postulating, somebody was looking very angry, somebody had to act at that particular point when the heat was very high.
Yes.
Then the Malawi, you know how we behave. We'll talk about something. Today we're talking of a billboard, tomorrow we'll talk about something else, and life goes on. So it was the topic of that day. We moved on to something else. Nobody cares. And these people managed to go back and they're working very comfortably in the offices. And even that time there was a declaration that you should interdict them without pay. And then somebody said, no, you cannot do that. The law doesn't allow you to interdict somebody without pay. That slips through. But there are some who believe that they were on interdiction without pay, which didn't happen. Basically, they were on holiday. So with things like this, that is how we live. We've been living like this for the past maybe 25 years.
Yes.
Since multi-party democracy. Maybe during Kamuzu's time, I don't know what was happening then, but I don't believe there was such plunder as there has been now. So that is our way of life. And until we drastically change our mindsets and actually get to prosecuting people who steal our money, because it is our money, nothing is going to change.
There is a consortium of donors who are providing support in terms of provision of utilities, such as water bills and electricity bills. This particular consortium has resolved to say they are pulling out. They are no longer going to be supporting the district councils. And there is an outcry coming from the district council saying the time we made a call or a proposal to this particular consortium of donors to be helping us was because we did not have enough funds to be supporting ourselves in terms of the utilities. Now these particular donors are pulling out. Do you think their pulling out is justified? And this outcry coming from the DCs is also justified, looking at all these particular revelations?
The donors are very justified. You know, it is disgusting. Even on a personal level, you find that there's somebody who is always coming to you for help, and they're abusing that help that you give them. It's frustrating. And then for the recipients to say, no, they shouldn't pull out, it doesn't make sense. They've stolen the money. And they still want the people to keep on pumping more money.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And you know, the people from US, EU, they follow up their money. When the government is sending a grant to Malawi, they follow up. There are platforms where they can check what their money is doing, and then they'll see that the money was spent financing a person's lifestyle. It's very worrying, actually. And it's also worrying that they should be crying for donors when this is, Nchisi is a virgin land. So much can happen there. As I said, they can take a leaf from Noah and see how it has developed.
Yes.
They can also emulate that and do the same. But they are not doing anything. Instead of just stealing the money. So the donors are very justified.
We have seen several other institutions pushing for channeling of funds through the local councils. What do we make of this? Because it seems like there is an inconsistency in terms of how these voices are made. Some are saying, no, don't give them money, direct. We still have got to maintain it at the central government. But others are saying it will only be effective if this money is channeled directly to the district councils. With this that is happening, what do we do, Mibawa?
It's a catch-22, because even this was stolen when it's being controlled by the central government, I should believe. So there is a loophole somewhere that has to be closed. So the government and the councils have to reach a compromise and decide on how they're going to spend the funds that they are given. Because at the rate we are going, it's not just in this council, actually, it's across the board. Every government department, there's serious roads. We talk about it, as I said, for 2 days until something interests the whole nation. The whole Facebook is talking about one thing, we move on to the next. And you find that the years go by. Nothing is happening.
Before we walk out from this particular issue, Mibawa, 2, if not 3 weeks ago, government has secured over 70, if not 80 billion Malawi from the World Bank in a project which they are calling Governance for Effective Service Delivery. Now, this particular GESID is going to the local councils again. The idea is to make them more efficient and more effective. But this time around, the World Bank is saying this will be performance-based financing. A district council that performs better will warrant more grants to be given to it based on the output. What do we do when it comes to this particular issue? Is it true, or do you think it will help efficiency? Because they have come up with what they're calling LAPA, which is Local Government Assessment Performance. They're calling it Local Authorities Assessment, Local Authorities Performance Assessment. So they will be using this particular LAPA to tell whether a district council is performing or not, to warrant or to determine how much they're going to get from this particular project. Do you think this will work to make them more efficient and effective?
What I'm getting out of there is a sense of shame that somebody can come out from outside the country and be policing us as school children to say, you do this and then we'll reward you.
Imagine.
As if we are nursery school children or something like that. That is very sad. And it should actually push us to be totally free. Because that is still like neo-colonialism in a way. How can you do this and then we'll reward you? Are we children? The whole concept is just wrong in a country which is supposedly free. It is so wrong.
So you mean we don't have to be taught to say, when you do better, that's when you will need to be given this particular money? Because they're saying it is performance-based financing. How you perform will determine how much you get as a district council.
Okay, put it this way. Here, like right here in your newsroom, and then they'll say, we'll give you notches, 5 notches if you perform well. It's like the one who performs the list. You feel so useless.
Yes.
And now this is a government, a whole country. And then somebody's coming from outside and telling you to do things like that, like a child, basically. If you don't do this, then we'll not give you money. If you don't perform in class, we'll not buy you new school shoes. It's something like that.
Is it their problem or our own problem?
It is our problem, and we should do some serious soul searching to find out why we're still being treated like that almost 60 years after independence. Why can't we help? And in fact, this COVID pandemic should have been the perfect time for us to start thinking very critical as a nation. You have seen the fiasco with the vaccines. We are failing to get second doses because we cannot afford it. Why? What is our problem? We have seen now the extent of our poverty.
Yes.
And we've been ridiculed because we burnt the vaccines. So you cannot depend on anyone forever. At the end of the day, you just be ridiculed and look like a fool. Which is exactly how I see that labor thing you're talking about. Policing you from, you do this, we'll give you this. Fine, it will be a competition between the councils.
Yes.
But as a nation, it is a shame, according to how I see it.
So it will still benefit us, but we should take it as a shame.
Yeah. And it's that
we cannot do
we
things
really
on our own.
towards becoming independent. Use the resources within councils. There's so many things, like the councils, most of them are so incompetent. You see the vendors today in the street, tomorrow they're out. You find they've built where they're not supposed to build, and then the next day the council goes and demolishes stuff. They could have, they are reactive instead of being proactive. Vendors refuse to go into markets because there are no toilets. You know, so many things. The people who collect the traffic wardens, 100 kwacha. How much money do they make? And you find it is people refuse. There's no efficiency whatsoever.
Yes.
There's some people are going to show you they've never paid even a single. They've been driving maybe 10 years. They've never paid even a single tambala for parking. Things like that. It is a shambles.
All right. Let's tie the loose knots here on the issue of the district councils. 138 million Malawi kwacha has been lost through the leakages in the district councils. Mostly now we're talking about the issue of the Nchisi district council. What should we do? Do you think the fight against graft in the country is being won?
I'm actually getting very disillusioned because, as we say, we look at arrests. The arrests happen, the interdictions happen. What next? Life goes on. So unless something serious happens to someone, and not just somebody who is unlucky, maybe they don't have any connections at that particular point, but somebody who really matters, if they get prosecuted, not just because they're out of government, but whilst in government, somebody gets prosecuted, and we actually see that somebody has gone to jail, nothing is going to change.
We are hearing that these particular district councils want a bailout because they are trapped in huge debts. Should government give them this particular money? We have heard Mr. Mlusu in Parliament saying, we have the money, we are ready to give you, but first get audited so that we establish where these debts are coming from.
Exactly the point, and I'm happy that it is our own minister now saying that instead of somebody from the World Bank coming and telling us to do this and then we'll give you the money. This is our own government. It is only right and proper that the audit should happen. Yeah.
All right. Now, when they get audited, we can go ahead to give them the money as government.
So, hopefully, if they don't find very serious road, then they'll start now fixing that mess.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Bawo, let's take a very short break. We'll be back with the program. Sure. This is the Cauldron where editors meet. We are discussing the issue of district councils in the country coming under the radar of the central government and, of course, some civil society organizations in the governance sector. We'll be back shortly after this break.
Sometimes
stating the obvious
is your only choice.
Times Television.
Times Television.
Times Television is Miss Malawi
Television Station of the Year.
6 years.
6 years.
6 years in a row. And we salute all our viewers
As well as advertisers.
For the unwavering support.
And we ignore all unnecessary noise.
Give you best value
For your money and time.
We rule.
We rule.
We rule the media kingdom in Malawi.
You can get the latest news happening around you right on your mobile phone by subscribing to 1895 on Airtel. For English news, send Times to 1895. For Chichewa news, send Time to 1895. For TNM, send the word Times to 1895 for both Chichewa and English news. Stay updated with current affairs with Times. Terms and conditions apply.
It's about time.
Right here on Times Television. This is where editors meet. We take time to discuss issues that are very topical in the country. We also take time to get international, where we also look at matters that have a bearing on the country. And we also get into the newsroom to look at matters that are happening and affecting the media industry in the country. Like I said, my name is Jawes Banda. Welcome once again to the Cauldron for this particular week. I am with Mibawa. Now, Mibawa, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Sure, let's get a bit international. There is some heartbreaking news that is coming from the US. They are saying at a US border detention center in the Texan desert, migrant children have been living in alarming conditions where diseases are rampant, food is also dangerous, and there are reports of sexual abuse. An investigation by the BBC has revealed all these particular issues. What is happening? Should this be happening to minors that need protection? This is USA, a very developed country, very vocal when it comes to matters of human rights protection. What is happening?
It's always a shame when people try to use children to blackmail governments, because that is basically how I see it. They'll send the 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds through the desert, hoping that the Americans will soften their hearts just because these are babies. You know, the law sometimes, people follow it very rigidly sometimes. And the children are usually left in a no-go zone. They might be taken to the camps, but they are not within American territory. So they cannot expect the same rights and good things that they would expect if they were within the US. So what happens for the parents to decide that I'll just send this 5-year-old so long as they get into the US? After that, what next? Don't use the children as the point of blackmail. It's just not right. Regardless of whether the US is heaven on earth or what have you. But then think about even those who are within that country. There are so many who are still struggling. Look at the rates of homelessness of particular citizens, not migrants, but citizens of that very same nation. So many statistics of unemployed people, homeless people, and then you go and add on to that, and you just send your child as a parent with no guarantee whatsoever that they'll actually even reach their destination. What are you trying to do?
But we have always seen and witnessed these issues happening, even on BBC, Al Jazeera. They call them desperate and dangerous journeys. Most people take these particular journeys just in search of greener pastures. Who doesn't want to get to the US or Europe just for greener pastures? Every one of us.
No, I don't. I don't.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I'm not prepared to go through such hardship for us, just for the sake of money. No. But then you look at the fact that those are coming from the Americas, some of the poorest countries like Honduras. So they say that they'll get on a caravan, they'll walk through Mexico to the US. And you remember during Trump's time, Mexico actually blocked them because he had said, if these people reach our borders, we are going to close our borders, they are your problem. And indeed, they were Mexico's problem. Mexico also has enough problems of its own with the drug cartels. So it's really... It's that question of maybe just looking at movies and deciding that this is a good life when you don't know the harsh reality of what is there on the ground. Even the movement from Honduras up to the US border, it's not easy. Why do they do that? That is the question. It's the same way that people from this side, they've been lied to. They'll go to Dubai, they'll go to the Middle East, and then they'll become slaves because of what you've just been hearing. You have a good life, you get dollars. Are you just going to be getting dollars in the street? You have to work for them. And so many are exploited because of that. Because even where you're talking about, so many children are indeed into prostitution. They are slaves in some ranches. We've heard stories like that. So you cannot just go somewhere blindly just because it is the US. It is not heaven, it is still earth, governed by people of all sorts, good and bad.
I want to look at the issue of the foreign policies that are always used by these governments. Do you think they are accommodative enough? Because sometimes we have heard of stories that don't welcome perhaps migrants from certain regions of the world. So they have always said, no, we don't welcome migrants from this particular region in Africa, from the, let's say, this particular, you know the stories. This particular foreign policy, is it helping us to integrate and come together as humanity here on earth?
If you look at humanity in a blanket way, you're not going to get anywhere. Racism is very real. Racism, plus the fact that they prefer somebody who has got something to offer. If you're from Malawi, you've got something to offer, I can assure you they will call you even from here if you fit into a particular criteria without looking at your race or what have you. But if you can work as a nuclear scientist somewhere, definitely they'll scramble for you.
Yes.
So you just decide you're a laborer, you've got nothing, no skill whatsoever, maybe apart from the fact that you're breathing, and then you decide to go into another country. Definitely no one is going to welcome you. And even right here, we don't welcome people who we think that are stealing our resources. It's everywhere.
So, and then this must be good news to us to say it puts a demand on us to improve ourselves so that our skills can be marketable internationally. Is this what you're trying to say?
No, I'm not saying it should be marketable internationally. We should be skilled so that we can actually develop our own country, so that people cannot come and tell you that you have to perform very well before
But the supply of labor will always shift rapidly to whatever use will provide the highest return. If my labor will fetch more in the US or in the UK, certainly, naturally, I'll have to move there because what I'm offering will fetch more for me.
So how about what you're leaving behind? Because this is still your land.
But if
your children are still here, your family is still here, and they still have to develop. So if all of you go out, what happens to those of us left behind?
There's a new phenomenon these days. In the past, we used to talk about what they called brain drain. Where people used to move out of Africa into perhaps the West for the sake of greener pastures. There's a phenomenon in town, they're calling it brain gain, to say people have now realized, just exactly you're putting it, that we have got a home. Let's get back home and develop our own country, make a contribution. Let us also matter in our own mother's lands. So do you think Africa will stand to benefit, and Malawi particularly, are we going to benefit from this so-called brain drain, from those that went out of the country and plied their trade now they have decided to come back home to support our country? Are we going to benefit?
That is what we're hoping for. Unfortunately, they come home and get very frustrated to see the rot that is in the government.
Yes.
Or the whole sector, actually. It's very sad when you hear some of the stories. You know, there's some people who genuinely love this country, and they would do anything to ensure that we grow, we become developed. But then they'll try to do this, they'll get so frustrated, they might even end up going back because they've tried their best. No one is interested. Everyone is interested in themselves and their immediate family. They don't care about the nation, or else they're caring more about their tribe. That is also the biggest problem we have, this tribalism, that instead of focusing on Malawi as Malawi, we'll focus on where is Chawezi coming from?
Yes.
Where is she coming from? And that has destroyed this nation.
Tying the loose knots, Mibawa, on the issue of that concerns the miners in the US, what do we do to avert this particular situation? Because it poses great danger to the children. What should be done? Or what can we borrow from such a situation? Or what can we learn to say next time should it happen to us or something of that nature happens within the region? What should we do to best avert that particular situation?
I believe that should come from the nuclear family of those particular children. You as a parent has to decide, is the money worth it? Is the money worth me losing my child? Is it worth it for my brother to go there to the uncertain world? Because you don't know for sure that you even reach the US. It's just, you just take it on a caravan and say, try your luck. There are so many dangers along the way. They are taken into prostitution, they become drug mules, and they will end up in jail anyway. They will be killed. So much bad stuff compared to what they're hoping for, which is just a dream. You'd rather stay home and focus on your home.
All right. Moving forward, Mibawa, let's come back home and get into the newsroom. This must be your bread and butter, the newsroom here in Malawi. Not so long ago, our country, and of course countries within the region, would have the whole lot of a crew going to do a story, a news story, maybe 2 or 3 people going to do a news story. But today, digital journalism has chipped in. We are seeing a convergent newsroom where a single individual can do perhaps almost everything and have the story run on radio, television, online, and all sorts of other platforms that are giving out news stories out there. Technology is aiding all these particular things. The approach has changed, isn't it?
It has changed. You know, the time we were getting into journalism, we were actually analog. We were actually cutting tapes manually. And then we moved to computers, to Adobe, and then here we are, now we're on Zoom, or Slack, what have you. So as a journalist, you also have to adapt. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. And I really fear for the younger ones who are just starting to get into the system. Because first of all, there's so much media, so many radio stations, so social media, so many newspapers, online. So for somebody to really make a mark, they have to be very good.
Of course.
And they have to be tech savvy as well, so that whatever they do, anyone can access it anywhere. And supposing you don't have the resources to be on Zoom, to be on Slack, even to be on Facebook, because all that requires money. It requires data, which is not falling.
Yes.
So people have been trying. So it's really tough, but very interesting to see that we can actually operate a whole office. We are doing press conferences via Zoom.
Yes.
We are doing everything online. So adapt and move on with the times.
Argumentatively, every development comes with its pros and cons. Let's look at the pros of having digital journalism. Is it doing any better to the world, to Malawi in particular? Is it serving the masses better than perhaps the conventional or traditional media?
It is working, because I've got another platform where I work fully online, and it works very well. About 10, 15 countries, everything works very perfectly also. The downside is there's no human interaction. You know, that is also quite very important sometimes.
Yes.
The nuances of actually seeing your feelings, feeling you, seeing you. So it is all a bit mechanical. But what to do? We are living in strange times.
Its advent has also entailed huge competition between the online platforms and the traditional media. We're looking at the issue of perhaps newspaper publications. Sometimes people have always said the competition is huge to the extent that these online publications are more faster and they are more efficient and effective in relaying the messages or the news stories to the public. Anything in terms of competition that this particular aspect has brought to the world?
Most you see we are going towards a paperless world. Very soon the papers, like the ones we buy on the streets, they'll be obsolete. And the Times, Nation, I'm seeing that you're selling your online newspaper. For me to access the full story, I have to subscribe. That is the way to go. The others who are even selling stories on WhatsApp. So move with the times, or you'll be left behind, and then you wonder what happened to our industry, what happened to our company, when you saw that everyone was going digital. The young ones don't have time to get a newspaper and read. They don't have time to buy a book and read. They'll read their book on Kindle. They'll read their book on their phone, because my phone is my office, basically.
Yes.
So move with the times. Move your newspapers to online platforms.
Online journalism has also come with its own ethical questions. Everyone wants to be the first to break the news. Even within the conventional media itself, they want to be the first to break the news. How do we go about this in terms of the ethics that are required for better performance and maintenance of professionalism and balance within the media industry?
At the end of the day, I always argue on that one. I'll say a qualified journalist is a qualified journalist.
Yes.
No matter, there are some influencers on social media who try to be the first to break the news, what have you. But when the story is written by a journalist, we also go by name. We go by the name of the company, we go by the name of the person. So how credible is this? People will still, they'll see the breaking news, but they'll still wait and refer to the mainstream, those they trust. So I believe we're good. We don't have, there's not really so much of a threat. Yeah.
All right. In terms of technology, do you think we're getting it there?
We are. If we moved, I'm sure even here you do Zoom.
Yes.
You do, so actually, it's not even a question of wanting to, it's a question of doing it. You must do it. Otherwise, people are not meeting physically. International meetings still have to take place. Whether you like it or not, you have to go digital.
You are the news editor for Blantyre Synod Radio. I want to look at the issue of simply adapting a story that perhaps in ideally would have best be done for radio. Someone simply adapts it to online or television. I hope you understand this particular aspect.
You know, as a journalist, as I said now, personally, you have to be interested in following what is happening.
Yes.
So you find that most radio stations, they have their Facebook page.
Yes.
They have a Twitter page. You can do that. You go on conventional radio, you read the news, but then put a little something on Twitter, so people have that bite. Put something on Instagram. Put something on Facebook, and then you say maybe listen to more of this on our radio station, or maybe you have a podcast right there on online. So it's up to us now as radio stations, as TV stations, to think of very innovative ways if we are to survive.
All right.
Because young people don't have time to sit and watch TV. They're always glued on their phones. So
Yes.
make sure that everything that you're putting out is available on that gadget they're carrying.
One last very unfortunate thing, Mibawa, which has been brought on the platform by the coming of digital journalism is the issue of labor displacement. These days, a single journalist can do perhaps a couple of things by themselves, and more jobs have been put at risk. How do we go about this?
Think outside the box. Journalism is all about talent. I always say that, and I'll still maintain that. Even here, in the new generation, there are still a few gems. You see, this young girl, she'll go far. This young boy, he will go far. There are so many of us as journalists. We're trying to ply the trade. Some made their names a long time ago. There are upcoming ones. You can still spot that talent, regardless of whatever is happening. Talent is talent, and it will always shine through. So it is up to them, up to you, up to me, to shine so that you are noticed. Otherwise, you'll be left behind, and no one will ever know there used to be a Mibawa somewhere.
All right.
Yeah.
Talent is talent, and it will always shine.
Yes.
On that note, Mibawa, I should thank you for taking time to talk to us on this particular program of the Cauldron here on Times.
Thank you.
Welcome. That's also where we end this edition of the Cauldron here on Times Television. We were with Mibawa Chavula. She's the news editor for Blantyre Synod Radio. She has shared with us so many things concerning the topic that we had today, when the district councils have come under the radar of the central government, and of course some CSOs in the governance sector. We also took time to look at matters that are happening internationally that have a bearing on our country. And finally, we looked at the issue of digital journalism. We got into the newsroom to sift through some things that do affect us also as the media industry. My name is Jawes Banda. Until next time, when I come with yet another edition of the Cauldron, where editors meet, I'm just wishing you all the best as you continue to enjoy the rest of our programs here on Times Television.